Tambutso Mnangagwa is to do actions that force Zimbabweans with no option but to unite. During the tenure of Robert Gabriel Mugabe, one thing that Mugabe kept intact for the longest, why he stayed longer in power, was realizing the power of the deep state in Zimbabwe. And in my view, the deep state being the war veterans, Robert Gabriel Mugabe did not mess up with these relations. He tried at all times to play smart. That is why sometimes you would see Mugabe taking long to form a government, because he was undertaking a broad consultation between the military as well as the and war veterans, because he understood that his power underpinned on these individuals. It's something that Mnangagwa has failed on catastrophically, and this has forced the opposition to find itself with no option, and also the war veterans to find its. Mnangagwa has portrayed himself as an enemy of both the opposition and the deep state. And this union that we witness today happening, a grand coalition that has been created between opposition political party leaders to be a firm opposition to Emerson Tambutso Mnangagwa. This gives a chance to opposition and one day to have to actually test power in Zimbabwe. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. So, a broad coalition of constitutional movements, labor unions, civic organizations, war veterans, and political groups on Friday launched Sungano Yebano, Ubumbano Bomparati, the People's Coalition, and unveiled a nationwide Let the People Decide campaign opposing Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. Launching the coalition in Harare, convener Reverend Dr. Kupa Mtata called on President Emerson Mnangagwa not to sign the bill into law, but instead to submit the proposed constitutional amendments to a national referendum, arguing that only Zimbabweans have the authority to approve fundamental changes to the constitution. The coalition also announced plans to return to the Constitutional Court, petition the African Commission of Human and People's Rights if necessary, and organize a national day of peaceful civic action as part of what it described as a peaceful campaign to defend constitutional democracy and the sovereignty of the people. The coalition is led by Reverend Dr. Kupa Mtata and brings together founding organizations, including the Defend the Constitution platform led by Tendai Biti, Constitution Defense Forum, also led by Jameson Timber, the National Constitutional Assembly, that is Professor Maduku, Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Union, and also Zimbabwe Constitutional Movement, and the War Veterans Pressure Group. And now, this coalition that now, but unfortunately, I don't see the name of Nelson Chamisa. I think it's a missed opportunity for him to actually work with others. Now, I have said this long time ago. Now, I specifically say Mnangagwa has united the military, the civic society, as well as opposition political leaders. Let me justify this. Now, who are war veterans? War veterans are actually retired military generals. They form also part of war veterans. And I have said because the military personnel, they are duty bound by the constitution to be loyal to a serving president. As much as they may have concerns with the current serving president, they cannot act in a manner where veterans are acting, because the constitution duty bounds them to be loyal to the president. But look at the language that is being spoken by these leaders that have formed part of this grand coalition. They are speaking the same language of Mchena. They are speaking the same language of war veterans such as Ethan Matibela. They are speaking the same language of war veterans such as Rupen Zulu. They are speaking the same language that is spoken by Tendai Biti, the same language that is spoken by Professor Love Momatuku, the same language that is spoken by even all the opposition political party leaders, as well as leaders of civic society organizations. Caption this: they put forward a new face. I cannot say a new face, but something that even Mnangagwa can undermine. They put a pastor to actually lead this grand coalition. It's for someone to someone may undermine this, but I can tell you there is more strength in this grand coalition, and it is for a particular purpose. We are an inch closer to what transpired in 2017. In my view, don't ever think that we are far away. This is not because of, I know some who misread politics may say, no, this is confusion. Are these people going to defeat him? I don't think. Remember, as much as people anticipate action to be taken, that action has to be justified. Zimbabweans should be seen to be actually supporting that action. This is the picture that was projected by the military in 2017. That is why you saw Zimbabweans in the streets of Zimbabwe demonstrating support on the military action that was carried out by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. Even this time around, you have heard what this grand coalition has actually said. They have said they are opposed to Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 2023. They are telling Emerson Mnangagwa to exercise responsibility and not sign this bill. They are saying they are going to go back to the Constitutional Court. Someone may say, but the war veterans went there technically. They were actually, the case was thrown out based on technicalities. What is it that may work? What is actually happening at the moment is for due diligence to be fulfilled, especially by all Zimbabweans, is for all avenues that can possibly be reached out to in an effort to try and knock some sense in the brains of Emerson Mnangagwa to be actually carried out, so that at the end of the day, the members of the international community are watching. No one will actually second guess that Zimbabweans tried their level best to reach available to them to try and remedy this situation peacefully, but they were left with no option. A military action has to be the last resort after exhausting all internal all internal processes at the disposal of the opposition political parties, of the war veterans, of the members of the civic society. Now, one thing that Mnangagwa has miscalculated, I think he did not see, or he never thought that one day opposition will actually slip into bed with a very, very important aspect of ZANU-PF. That is the deep state. That is the war veterans. War veterans at the moment, under Emerson Mnangagwa, they are speaking the same language with the opposition. So the opposition is speaking the language of the war veterans. And for the very first time, I see the opposition speaking about the liberation struggle, the history of the liberation struggle. And not only that, the war veterans also speaking about how, the opposition leaders speaking about how important it is for the country to respect its war veterans. I can tell you, these opposition leaders that actually fight on the trenches with the deep state, of which it is very certain at the end of this nonsense, the deep state will have the final say. And when the deep state has the final say, it will never forget those who fought with it on the trenches. And also, it is bound in the future to gain trust, to even allow those who have served with them on the trenches to get to test state power. To me, that is wisdom. To individuals like Professor Maduku, to individuals like Tendai Biti, Jacob Ngarivume, and other opposition political players who see at this critical moment the importance of uniting against the vulnerable deep state at the moment, that will actually add value to their political career. And we can safely say in the near future, opposition may find itself. Now you see, to Nelson Chamisa standing alone at this crucial moment, it portrays him as someone who is happy with the current status quo. And those who have been perpetuating this narrative that he sold out, he seems to be giving life to that. Whether that will work well for him, but I don't know, maybe. Let me not judge in that respect. You cannot force someone to actually others if he sees it as something that does not work. Most probably he is influenced by what he did. Mnangagwa looked for their support, lured them for their support in 2017. They did support, they mobilized the members of the opposition, and they were damned. Maybe it is that historical setback that is making him at this particular moment to make this decision. As to whether it's a good, I think I've said, or a bad decision, I've said already my part that, as a political leader, at this moment also, he was supposed to be seen in the temple, or in the trenches rather, not to surface in the temple. He must be seen in the trenches, so that when it's an opportunity to sit in the temple, he will also be remembered as someone who fought equally so in the trenches. I have said that in Zimbabwe, it will be for the very first time whereby a pen and paper can decide the fate of succession. Historically, it has never, when it comes to ZANU-PF. If Mnangagwa gets away with it, signs it, he gets to actually extend his term of office, and that's it. He transitioned to creating a monarchy out of Zimbabwe. It will be for the very first time. And there is a highly likelihood that he may not succeed. Right there at the moment when he thinks everything is together. Remember the story of Ezekiel that Nelson Chamisa used. Ezekiel was granted more years, but those years were consequential. That is what Chiwenga said. Still, we had to see Lazarus dying, but there was a solution after Lazarus has died. So it's not yet over, this battle of succession. And anyone celebrating at this moment definitely shows that that person is limited in terms of understanding the politics of Zimbabwe. That's why you would not see Mnangagwa celebrating even at this current political phase. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. Okancuba Mhlabane is signing out. Let me love and leave you. Let's meet on the other side of the live broadcast as I give you more.